So eFootball 26 has been out for a month now. The honeymoon period's over. Dust has settled, and I think it's fair to say we're having the exact same issues with the game as we were this time last year. When the game launched, we got very positive reviews, as we do every single year, and I did predict that, within a couple of weeks, people would be kind of sick of the game again. I thought it was going to be for one or two reasons. It's actually for other reasons than I predicted. So today I'm going to go through my thoughts on why I really think eFootball is beyond saving at this point. So as I said, when the game launched, very positive reviews. Everyone was really enjoying the game. And then that first Thursday update that came out, I seen the negative sentiments come across straight away. Like clockwork, it happens every year. And people were complaining that the gameplay changed. I actually disagree. The gameplay didn't change. I'm not going to say something with authority because I can't know 100% for certain. But look, as someone who's played thousands and thousands of hours of this game, I'm really, really confident the gameplay didn't change on that first Thursday update. But I do know your gameplay experience changed, and it's for a couple of reasons. So first off, the first week of an eFootball game has open matchmaking. And just think for a second, think back to that first week. How many opponents did you face that had, like, let's say, a full Liverpool team, a full Man United team, a full Arsenal team, and even at that, they were old cards you hadn't seen in a while. Like, I would say more often than not, I was coming up against cards that were like 2 or 3 years old compared to cards that were out in the last 6 to 12 months. So there was two things happening there. One, new players were coming back as a yearly release. They always want to see and check it out. And then two, the matchmaking system allowed you to match with these guys. So even if you are someone who's like, ranked 10,000 or above on the leaderboards, you weren't kind of confined into that pool of players that's very active. You were actually being able to match against pretty much anyone in the game. And when people criticize this game, I feel like they're right in criticizing it, but wrong on the actual reason why the criticisms make sense. Because when this game first launched, I think a fair way of describing it was that the pace was slower. I still think this is true, but it was more noticeable in that first week. The pace was slower, and you could actually play a lot more passes in behind. But when you start only playing against people with 105 rated defenders, with 90 speed, 90 acceleration, 95 in all defensive stats, I mean, what do you expect to happen? Of course the passes are going to get intercepted. Of course it's going to be hard to be comfortable on the ball and have time on the ball. If you load up a game in, let's say, friendly match, and you use the real teams with the real player stats, the game plays completely different. And it shows to me that Konami know how to make a good football game still. They have made a good football game still, but it's just hidden behind the 107 rated cards that, for the most part, do all the defending for you, so you kind of have to glitch your way through. Now, it's not as bad as eFootball was 6 months ago. 6 months ago was like the worst game, or maybe not 6 months, whatever was before 4.4, that period there. That was like the worst game of eFootball I've ever played. It was all just meta spam down the middle. Like, as someone who plays possession, likes to use wingers and use width, even I had to play narrow because I just couldn't do anything with that kind of locked in gameplay. But in eFootball 26, I can still play what I would say is realistic formations. And essentially what I mean by realistic formation is you just put like wingers in and out wide, and maybe you have one striker instead of having 3 strikers narrowed together. You can still do this. And it's still decently enjoyable, but I'll get on to the reason why that's not enough anymore. You need more than just a decently enjoyable video game in terms of gameplay. But the reason that gap there between what you experienced in that first week, and I would stretch it to the second week as the gap in your experience, is because, one, your opponents are less skilled than they were 2 weeks ago, but that's not that important. I do think it's more just the teams you're playing against are just so much better than what we were playing a few weeks ago. And it's not a case of, let's say, a team where the average stat is 80. If you have a team with the average stat of 80 play against the average stat of 80 team, if you have another team where the average stat is 90 and average is 90, it's not like they're the same gameplay experience because the stats balance each other out. Because the stats kind of get closer to the maximum, the interceptions happen more often, the shots are more powerful, the passes are more often perfect. But that doesn't matter because of the first point, the defensive stats are so strong. Even if both players have an even team, if it's a really high rated team, it really limits the gameplay. But look, this isn't new criticism. Like, I'm not someone who's now saying like this game is terrible and I've given up on it. I'm more just saying like it's more the same. And I said this for the last year, like when people kind of complain about the game in my chat, I'm like, it's never going to get better. Like, it'll always be like this. Even if we get a reset of cards, so we go back to that, how long until they start getting really overpowered again? Like, you might have 6 months, a year, but like they'll always push new and new cards that get a little bit better, and over time the best players in the game are no longer realistic, they're superhuman. But even saying this game is still good enough for me to play every day gameplay wise, but there's just still no way of getting new cards. And don't talk to me about Isco and Aubameyang, alright? You need to win, what, like 15, 20 games in divisions? And what you end up with is a card that's not better than the Legends that came out 2, 3 years ago, and you're only getting one of these a month. Like, it's ridiculous. Because, for instance, FC 25, largely considered one of the worst games in the FIFA series of all time. Still, I played more hours of FC 25 than I did of eFootball 25, because every time I logged onto the game, I could work on my team by playing games, getting rewards, and improving the team. Whereas now, you on eFootball, or as it always has been, you have to spend €100 to not even upgrade your team, really. I mean, if you're free to play and then you start spending, yes, it's a massive upgrade. But if you've already spent on your players, like, I've got some cards in my club that have been here for like nearly 2 years, and they're still like the best players in my team. Like Czech, Vieira, and Gilberto Silva. I think we're coming up to 2 years on having these cards. I got all these guys in the same pack, and they're still in my team, and I won't upgrade them. So yeah, I've gotten a lot out of them for the money I spent compared to like other players. But the problem is, this is an ultimate team game mode, and the point of these game modes is to build your ultimate team and progress your team. So even if the gameplay isn't like 100% amazing, you still log on because you want to try a new player, earn a new card, and see what they're like on the pitch. And I know gameplay is king. Trust me, I 100% believe that. I'm someone who will buy PES and FIFA every year back in the past, or now I just buy FIFA because eFootball's free, and I'll just play whichever game has better gameplay for the most part. But the problem with eFootball is, as I mentioned earlier, this gameplay is never going to be amazing because of how high rated these cards are, and how it just puts the game in a weird position. Like, players are doing weird things, like they're intercepting weird passes. So if you're unaware, I do have an FC channel. I will be uploading more on that when FC releases. So if you're interested in FC, check that out. I'll also include the link in the description. And in terms of eFootball, I'll continue playing it Mondays and Thursdays for sure. Although I have skipped a few Mondays now because the pack, I mean, I'm in a good position actually as a streamer. Like, people offer me the privilege of logging into their account and playing with new cards if they've decided to go for them. And multiple weeks now, even if it's free and I can like make a stream out of it, I haven't even been bothered to do it because it's just not that interesting. So imagine if I wasn't a streamer and I didn't even have this privilege of being able to try out these new cards. Like, I don't even know if I'd still be playing this game, really. And we haven't even got into Smart Assist. But look, I'm not even going to get into Smart Assist because I don't think it's worth the breath. I think it's clear as day, this game is only supposed to be played for about 3 to 6 hours a week. You can actually see they kind of think that too, because they released a 3-minute match window, like, or event. So they want you to play the games as quick as possible, particularly on mobile. And I'm not going to, like, you know, rage at this game because it just really isn't worth caring about that much. But I just hope it's abundantly clear to people now. Like, PES is dead. PES died. I think PES died in PES 19. That's when it was inevitable that it was going to die. But the nail's been in the coffin for a couple of years now on this game. Like, for instance, Nick Run the Foot Market started an RTG like a couple of weeks ago, and he's already given up on it. And it's not like he given up because he doesn't have any like willpower. It's just, what's the point? There's no progress in your team. I've done a video on it. Like, I haven't on my free to play account bought a player in a year because no player is worth it for free to play players. The coins I have saved up, they're better off being saved because none of the players they offer for free to play players are worth it. So look, I'm not giving up with this game. I'm going to be continuing on the course I have been for the last month or so, I'd say, because it's still worth playing. There's still moments of magic you can have in this game, but it's not worth investing all this time. And more importantly, like, your energy and your effort. Getting annoyed about a game that you care more about than Konami care about themselves. So look, if you have any interest in FC, join me on the FC channel. I'm going to have time off work for the next little bit, so I'll be pumping out videos over there. And then continuing the streams on this channel on a Monday and a Thursday.